Centerpiece, the show dedicated to fighting on the front lines of political hypocrisy, exposing the lies and false promises of our leadership. And now your host, the voice of reason, Nick Messer.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Centerpiece. I am Nick Messer, the voice of reason. Got a lot to talk about tonight. We have found ourselves in a situation in which I really hate to say I kind of warned you guys about. I tried to tell you that this stuff was coming. I don't know how more accurately to put it at this point. We see big tech bending over backwards to erase anything conservative at all whatsoever. Rick Klein, the political director from ABC News, in a deleted tweet that said, quote, "Trump will be an ex-president in 13 days. The fact is that getting rid of Trump is the easy part. Cleansing the movement he commands is going to be something else." All right, so let's talk about that here for a little bit. You have someone from national mainstream media talking about cleansing a movement from the United States of America from within our own society. Okay, that's incredibly dangerous language. That's literally the exact same language Hitler used when he started rounding up all of the Jews and putting them in concentration camps and making them wear the Star of David on their clothing in order to be able to identify them, torturing them, using them as guinea pigs for the tests for his various weapons of war. Yeah, that's the road we're headed down, people. Make no mistake about it at all whatsoever. None. And if it doesn't get any better than that, I mean, seriously, people, it goes from worse. It goes from bad to worse. Because listen, we had Chuck Schumer, the man that's going to be the new majority speaker in the Senate. The majority leader in the Senate. My bad. He delivered a statement on Wednesday right after the demonstrators went inside the Capitol building. Were led inside. The police let them in. They did not storm the building. They did not take it by force. Did they get in there and destroy a bunch of stuff? Yeah, they did. But they were let in and guided to places in which they could run amok. The biggest majority of the people that went in had no idea that was even going on. They simply went in because they thought they were being invited in. Come on in. Come check the place out. Welcome to Washington, D.C. Come see the home of democracy. You know, this is where it all happens. Come check it out. But Chuck Schumer, he says, this is a quote from his when they got back to the Senate session. He says, quote, "It is very, very difficult to put into words what has transpired today. I have never lived through or even imagined an experience like the one we have just witnessed in this Capitol. President Franklin Roosevelt set aside December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy. Unfortunately, we can now add January 6th, 2021 to that very short list of dates in American history that will live forever in infamy. This temple to democracy was desecrated, its windows smashed, our offices vandalized. The world saw Americans' elected officials hurriedly ushered out because they were in harm's way. The House and Senate floors were places of shelter until evacuation was ordered, leaving rioters to stalk these hallowed halls. Lawmakers and our staffs, average citizens who love their country, serve it every day, feared for their lives. I understand that one woman was shot and tragically lost her life. We will mourn her and feel for her friends and family. Out of everything that Chuck Schumer says in this speech, there's only one thing that I can actually stand with him on. And that is, I want to be very clear, those who perform these reprehensible acts cannot be called protesters. That's it. Out of his long speech, that's the only thing that I can agree with. Chuck Schumer stands in front of the Senate calling the Capitol building a temple to democracy. We've got them talking about a temple. We've got them talking about cleansing. Think about it, people. These people that reside, these 538 people that work inside that building have finally come to the conclusion, and they're finally showing you they believe that they are your God. How dare you attack the temple to democracy? How dare you attack your deified masters? You know, for a few short hours, those people in that building finally got to feel what millions of Americans felt in Minneapolis when they watched their city burn, Portland, and all the countless cities across the United States. When the violent rage mob marched through their neighborhoods and burned them to the ground. Now, do not get me wrong. I am not condoning what happened at the Capitol in any way, shape, or form. It was wrong. I cannot sit here and say that it was wrong for them to do it over the entire summer, for BLM to do it, and then turn around and say this is okay too. All right? Going about it this way, this is not the way. We are not, this is not a Mandalorian type thing. This is the way. No, this is not the way. It's a prime example of what not to do. And myself, I'm a veteran of the United States military. I'm not throwing that in your face because I believe that everybody owes me something because of that. But I will be damned if I will let Chuck Schumer compare the very small event that happened on January 6th to the bombing of Pearl Harbor. That man has lost his ever-loving mind if he thinks that they're even remotely close to being the same thing. Remotely. You're right. You're right, Jason. Schumer is a clown. Absolutely. I can't even believe that he would get... These words are part of Senate record, okay? Everything that gets spoken on the Senate floor, everything that gets spoken in Congress goes on the congressional record. It gets saved. All right? It's kept forever. So these words are in that... Go look them up. They're in there. Go look in the archives. How sad it is that for once the deified individuals that existed in that building felt a little fear themselves, and they don't like it. They do not like the idea that they are no longer untouchable, because that's what they think they are. They believe that they are all powerful and untouchable. We know this. It's obvious. Look at the way they act and look what they do. They go and they legislate and they create all of these laws, but yet none of those laws apply to them. Ever. When Obamacare got passed, they did not have to participate because they had their own health care that they chose and make the American people pay for. Yeah, they get their Blue Cross Blue Shield or whatever it is that they get on our dollar. The American taxpayer pays for that. Every 4 years when there's a presidential election, they get to vote to give themselves a raise. We constantly hear about balancing the budget, national deficit, over and over and over and over. We have all this going on, but yet, we don't have any of this money. We don't have $5 billion to build a wall to secure our borders, but we have $700 billion to send out across the world to other countries. $15 million. Oh, they get the same health care as the military, Jason? Oh, they get TRICARE? Oh, so it's just 100% completely paid for. Like, they pay nothing. They don't even pay. They don't even pay. They have TRICARE people. They don't even pay a copay at all. They pay nothing. They go to the doctor. It costs them nothing. That is absolutely. It costs them nothing out of their pocket, but it costs us. We pay for it all. Out of our tax dollars, we pay for it. After everything that has happened, I literally got so angry watching everything unfold on January 6th. I got so angry, I had a headache for 2 days. My blood pressure was so high over it. Because this group of people, whether it was actual Trump supporters or people dressed up like Trump supporters, whether they were Antifa plants or whatever, that's all that stuff is actually completely and totally irrelevant. The only thing that is relevant to this situation at all whatsoever is the optics of the situation is that Trump supporters did the very thing the Democrats and the left said they were going to do when Trump lost. And now, this is one thing that I want you to understand, all right? If any of you out there at all whatsoever has gone to Joe Biden's website and looked at his plan, and you've actually looked and read what he plans to do, the sweeping gun control and so on and so forth. Now, when he starts to institute all these policies and he comes for your guns, because he's appointed Beto, damn right I'm coming for your AR-15 O'Rourke to that position. So when they come for your guns, you look like the bad guy. That's what has happened. Conservatism is now the enemy. Thanks to those people. And we know and we know they're pushing it. All right? Look at big tech. Me personally, I'm currently sitting on a 30-day Facebook ban. Why? I have no idea. They won't tell me what post I made or comment that I made that supposedly violated their community standards. They told me nothing at all. Zero, zilch, nada. No explanation. No, hey, this is what you did was wrong, so don't do it again. I have no idea what I did that was so wrong that caught me a 30-day ban. But the fact of the matter is I got banned from using their platform for no reason at all. So guess what? That means they can just make up whatever they want. We've talked about this numerous times on this very show. We've talked about this on the American Gun Show. We've talked about this. I'm not entirely sure if I think we did talk about this on Current Pulse also. About big tech censorship. They say they eliminate you from the platform, and then they say violated community standards. But they don't tell you how it violated community standards. They just say you violated community standards and they throw you off the platform. Which means they get to make up whatever they want to. They get to use whatever excuse. That's their just their broad general excuse. You violated community standards. Which means essentially you did something that I didn't like and I don't have another reason to actually get you off of the platform, so I'm just going to kick you off anyway. And imagine having the kind of power to be able to delete the official presidential account from Twitter. It's a government account, meaning when Joe Biden is inaugurated on the 20th, he gets access to that. That becomes his account. The presidential account passes from president to president to president to president. Okay? And Twitter has the power to silence the sitting president of the United States of America. Think about that for a second. It just goes to prove, people, that you know what? You can sit here and you can blame Trump all you want. All right? It doesn't matter whether it's Trump, Obama, Biden, doesn't matter. The 538 people that sit in that congressional building, they're the problem. And they're the ones who have the power in the United States. The president is nothing more than a figurehead. Period. The president is just a talking head that goes on national television and spouts off whatever it is that the Congress tells him to say. And they didn't like Donald Trump because you know what? Donald Trump didn't like to just step up and say whatever Congress was telling him to say. He did his best, I think he did his best to get out there and try to tell the American people the truth. He tried to warn us of what was going on, the massive levels of corruption. And then you've got at least 50% of the United States out there going, no, it's not that bad. I haven't had a problem. It's not that bad. I mean, you had supposedly 80-some million Americans go out and vote for Joe Biden without knowing a thing about what his plans were for the country. All they knew was he wasn't Donald Trump because Donald Trump had to go. The derangement that exists, and I see it myself right in my own community. Little, small, Rensselaer, Indiana, a town of 6,000 people, and they are here too. The deranged leftists that it doesn't matter what happens as long as Donald Trump is no longer president of the United States. I was watching a TV show, The Rookie. They talked about something on that show. And I recommend that you get out there and you Google it and you look it up for yourself. Okay? It's called Noble Cause Corruption. NCC. Noble Cause Corruption. Noble Cause Corruption is, and I'll just give you the basic ideal of it here for the radio. Noble Cause Corruption is essentially the ends justify the means, doing the wrong thing for the right reasons. And because you're doing it for the right reasons, it's okay. It doesn't work that way. Right is right and wrong is wrong. You don't get to climb up on your moral soapbox and preach from your moral supremacy pulpit doing the wrong thing, and I don't care what your reasons are for doing it. I don't care how valid you think the reasoning was for BLM to riot and protest in the streets and burn down innocent people's homes and livelihood. I don't care if you agreed with their message or not. That was wrong. Just like on January 6th, the way the people went into that building and destroyed everything the way that they did, that was wrong. Because the only way that any of this is going to change is we all have to be better. January 6th is a culmination of Republicans and Democrats both. There is nobody who is without at least 1% of blame for what happened on January 6th. And I include myself in that. Because we let it happen. It should have never got to this point. Ever. I partially blame Donald Trump for allowing him to be put into for putting his supporters into a situation in which something like this could happen to them. Do not think for 1 second that I agree with the ideal that they, quote-unquote, stormed the Capitol on January 6th. I've seen the videos, okay? I watched the videos where D.C. police pulled back the barricades and waved them into the Capitol building. Capitol Police opening the side doors and letting them come in the side doors. They were invited in. Did they run amok once they got in there? Yes. Yes, they did. They want to tell you all about how it was a violent uprising and it was an insurrection and so on and so forth. You know, the only violence that was perpetrated during that time period? Did people accidentally get hurt? Did people have medical issues in the midst of that? Yes. Yes, they did. But the only violence that was perpetrated during that was a 14-year Air Force veteran was shot at range by Capitol Police inside the building with absolutely zero escalation of force procedures followed. Zero. The woman, when she was shot, was basically surrounded by DC SWAT teams. Nobody tried to restrain her first. Nobody used a taser on her first. They went straight to lethal force. Bang, shot her dead. Is there going to be anybody out there that's going to be carrying around a sign that says say her name? Ashley Babbitt, that was her name. Veteran of our own very military here in the United States, willing to put her life on the line to defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Oh, there was an officer that was hitting it. All I saw was the reports where Capitol Police said that no officers had lost their lives because people were saying that cops were killed that day. So I didn't see anything about a police officer getting hit in the head with a fire extinguisher. And my concern is at what point did this happen? Did this happen? What involvement with the Capitol Police officer? You know, I would need more details on that before I could even comment on to what the situation was. So, but it doesn't change the fact, regardless, that I don't think Ashley deserved to die, but the left does. Getting back to the big tech censorship that we were talking about just a few minutes ago, I got a video here from Dinesh D'Souza talking about Twitter's stated reasons for banning Trump. Let's give it a listen.
Someone must have been telling lies about Joseph K. because without having done anything wrong, he was arrested one morning. This is the opening line of Franz Kafka's The Trial. The story of a man who is being arrested and prosecuted, but he can't find out for what. They keep telling him things like, well, you'll find out later. The papers are being drawn up. It's a very complicated process. And so the mood, Kafkaesque, is now used to describe this feeling of being in the twilight zone, being in an environment of fear, an environment that is surreal, but it's also crazy and it's also vicious. And this combination of qualities, I think, perfectly describes our moment today. We are in a Kafkaesque movement of digital book burning. And I want to illustrate the point by looking at Twitter's stated reason for banning Trump. Interestingly, unlike in Kafka's trial, where he can't find out what's going on, they never give a reason. Here, Twitter does give a reason. And it's actually even more damning because it's a window into you may call it the Twitter mind, or perhaps Jack Dorsey's mind. So let's look at the reason why Trump got banned according to Twitter. It's 2 tweets. Here's the first one. The 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America first, and make America great again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. Inoffensive tweet. Trump is merely saying that even if I exit the scene, the MAGA movement lives on. Now, Twitter flags the phrase American patriots. The use of the words American patriots, says Twitter, to describe some of his supporters is also being interpreted. Notice the passive voice is also being interpreted. By whom? By Twitter? As support for those committing violent acts at the U.S. Capitol. And Twitter goes on. The mention of his supporters having a giant voice long into the future and that they will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form is being interpreted, same tense, as further indication that President Trump does not plan to facilitate an orderly transition and that instead he plans to continue to support, empower, and shield those who believe he won the election. Now we go to the second tweet from Trump. To all those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th.
Listen to this. Listen to what Twitter says about this. This will absolutely blow your mind that they could twist anything to this point. Listen to this.
Trump merely saying, I'll feel degraded if I go, so I'm not going. That's it. Here's Twitter's interpretation. The second tweet, says Twitter, may also serve as encouragement to those potentially considering violent acts that the inauguration would be a, quote, safe target, as he will not be attending. Now, is this a normal or reasonable reading of that tweet? No. We're basically dealing with people who are reading this tweet in a twisted and deranged way. And that is what I mean by the phrase Kafkaesque, when an environment where words don't mean what they say, where they're ultimately taken to mean things different than they say, where people are, in a sense, in this case, Trump is in the Kafkaesque environment where he's guilty before he's even been charged. And what we learn about tyranny from all this is that tyranny is not only irrational, it's not only merciless, it's also deranged.
There you have it, people. That was Dinesh D'Souza. You can find that video on Rumble. You can look it up and go watch the video yourself. He's got the transcripts of the tweets and the responses from Twitter at the bottom of the video explaining that to you. But yeah, they just get to you don't get to say what you mean. They tell you what you mean. Yeah, according to Twitter, that's an incitement of violence. But see, that, like I said, we're going to go ahead. We're up against a break wall now. We're going to have to take a short break. We'll be right back with you here in just about a minute.
Jason Reeve, the host of the American Gun Show here, inviting you to listen to our new show, Current Pulse. Join myself, Mina May, Nick Messer, and Samantha Reeve as we discuss top stories, political hypocrisy, and even stories you might not have even heard about. It's an open discussion of facts, not fake news like CNN and MSNBC. Join us on the weekly podcast Current Pulse, right here on Spreaker.com or your favorite podcast provider. Are you a constitutionalist and fan of the Second Amendment? Then you need to listen to the American Gun Show, hosted by me, Jason Reeve, the voice of freedom. We talk about laws, training, and everything in between. Find us on the Firearms Radio Network, iHeartRadio, and every podcast platform. The American Gun Show. Our rights, our fight.
All right, folks, we're back. Thanks for bearing with me on that little time out there, the obligatory ad break. So we were talking about big tech just before we had our little break there. And to continue and go a little bit farther even on big tech, I had a conversation with somebody on Parler today that was trying to defend the censorship of Donald Trump. Because they buy into the ideal that he was trying to incite violence, which I still do not buy at all whatsoever. But even so, we have often complained about Donald Trump getting on Twitter and so on and so forth. Even some of us supporters have complained. I've complained. I've been critical of Donald Trump getting on Twitter all the time. I've said often he needs to shut up. Well, you know, let's play devil's advocate for just a second. Let's just pretend that censoring the United States president was a good idea for whatever reason. We're going to play pretend. Let's say that it was a good idea. All right. Even if we try to play pretend like silencing the president for whatever reason is a good idea, it's still a bad idea. And here's the reason why it's a bad idea. The reason why it's a bad idea is because if they can silence the president of the United States of America, the supposed head of our democracy, they can silence anyone simply because they don't like you. And they're doing so. The conversation that I was having with this gentleman, I was trying to explain to him about exactly how serious this situation is. And he said to me, after I had already explained to him that myself and my wife, Mina May, have been on the receiving end of this censorship. Mina May was actually censored from Facebook. Jason, you could probably confirm this for me. Help me out. I think it was like August, September-ish time frame. Not entirely sure. It was before, the whole election fraud thing really took off and all that kind of stuff. She said she had a Save Our Children movement on Facebook, and it was growing. She had 150 people in there, but, it was growing like exponentially by the day. And at the time, she knew nothing about this, but apparently, August or September for supporting Save Our Children. But at the time, apparently QAnon was getting involved with using the Save Our Children movement as a way to incite some violence or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't really read too much into it. But we knew nothing of that going on at that particular period of time. Had no idea that it even that was going on. So they deleted Mina's group. She just woke up one morning and the group was gone. So she goes through the support inbox and she emails Facebook and is like, "Hey, my group's gone. What happened? What was going on?" No response. She got zero response from Facebook. And then 72 hours later, her whole account is gone. Her whole personal account for simply questioning Facebook. They obliterated her whole account. And then after she finally made a new account, she spent like 90 days being shadow banned. She couldn't post. She couldn't comment. All she could do is like stuff. She couldn't share anything. All she could do was like and share to her story. For like 90 days. After they deleted her personal account. The very personal account that had pictures of our 2-year-old son. the place that had the only pictures that we had left from when we had our house fire in 2016. Like, deleted it. Because she emailed Facebook and she's like, hey, if you want to delete my account, that's fine. Just let me go on there real quick and get my pictures. Get my personal stuff. Because your photos is your own personal intellectual property. And Facebook said the decision is final and it's all gone. So not only are they censoring you, but they're also taking away your intellectual property at the same time. So I explained that entire speech and that story. I gave him all that information and so on and so forth, and he still continued to defend his position that the censorship was okay and that it really wasn't that bad. It's really not that bad. Over the past 3 days, Dana Loesch has lost like 70,000 followers on Twitter. Just poof, gone. So are they just making the number change? Or are they banning that many people? And there's a lot of conservative people on Twitter that are saying the exact same thing. Their Twitter following is falling rapidly by thousands a day. As Twitter goes through and cleanses the movement that Donald Trump leads. The fact of the matter stands is that, yes, on January 6th, there was a coup, and it succeeded. Yeah, Jason, Facebook does support pedophiles. Yeah, that's because they've all been banned. They've all been removed from Facebook. Or not Facebook, but Twitter. You had about 900, you're down to... So you've lost roughly 700 followers in 3 days. Because of the sweeping overreach. It's just absolutely insane to me that they get to wield this kind of power. See, they wield this kind of power because they continue to relish under the protections of Section 230. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. It's federal law. Protects platforms like, like Facebook, Twitter, and Parler, Gab. It protects all of those platforms from being sued for the content created by their users. It permits internet companies to moderate sites without being on the hook legally for everything they host. part of the issue is that they get to enjoy these protections because they're a platform, not a publisher. And it was originally intended for companies like Gab and Parler and MeWe for their startups. So that essentially the big companies like Twitter and Facebook couldn't have employees go onto those particular platforms and sabotage them by posting all kinds of bad content on there. Like, don't get me wrong. It's, some things just aren't protected by 230 child pornography, such and stuff like that. Yeah, you don't get to claim Section 230 on that one. But essentially, with Section 230, companies like Twitter and Facebook are immune. They can do whatever they want. They can moderate their platform however they want. And they can't be sued for it. They can't be sued for for their discriminatory practices, because that authority is granted to them by Section 230. But see, what they don't one of the things that people don't understand is that Section 230 was intended to essentially identify platforms such as Facebook and Twitter, Parler, Gab, MeWe, any of the other ones out there. It was meant to identify those particular platforms as essentially as a public place. Like a park. Think of it like a community park on the internet. Because if somebody goes into Central Park in New York City and commits a crime, kills somebody, rapes somebody, so on and so forth, we don't go after the Parks Department and hold them responsible for what happened in the park. We hold the criminal responsible. Same kind of concept with Section 230. Facebook becomes a park on the internet. It's a public forum. It's no longer private space. Yes, it's a privately owned company, but they agree to be a public forum in exchange for being protected from liability based off of what their people put on their platform. Now, but see, Facebook and Twitter aren't acting that way. They're acting like publishers. They're treating the people that post on their platform as if they need to tell them how to live their lives, what to say, how to say it, and what is right and wrong. That's a publisher. Publishers have absolutely no protections under Section 230. So something needs to happen with Section 230. It needs to be rewritten or something. Because, see, once they become a publisher, then they become a private entity once again. They regain their privatization. And then, yes, all of this stuff about them being a private company and they can ban your free speech and so on and so forth. Yeah, they absolutely can, because they are a private company. But by enjoying the protections of Section 230, they are a public forum in which now they are infringing on your Second Amendment right to free speech. And yes, it's already been determined that the First Amendment covers quote-unquote hate speech. Call it what you will. Just, people, I hate to say it, but we tried to tell you this was coming. And it's only going to get worse from here. The left wants to target the Electoral College. I don't know if they can or not. I'm hearing rumors that there's a kind of a backdoor, a roundabout way that they can get in and do that, because abolishing the Electoral College will take a constitutional amendment. And let's be honest, if they can pull it off with the Electoral College, then they'll be able to pull it off with any constitutional amendment. Joe Biden wants to take any firearm that holds more than 10 rounds, or a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds, and put them under the NFA, requiring you to pay $200 and get a tax stamp to even own it. And if you don't comply, then you're automatically a criminal. I promise you. Like Dinesh said, we have found ourselves in an age of digital book burning. Yesterday, National File posted a video. You can go look it up. They posted a video that shows a D.C. police officer physically barring the doors of a hotel from the outside, locking the people who were staying there, happen to be Trump supporters, effectively locking the people who were staying there inside the building. They were locked in the building for no reason at all. They hadn't done anything wrong at all whatsoever. They weren't arrested. They weren't read their rights. They weren't being detained. They were imprisoned inside their hotel room because an officer decided that that's the way it should go. The fact of the matter stands here is, if you supported Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form at this point in our society, you are a second-class citizen, and they can do to you whatever they want. It's getting absolutely out of hand, and it's going absolutely crazy out there right now. I don't understand why we even let it get this far. Why did we use the ideal of, oh, it's never going to happen? Why did we got absolutely 100% got complacent? I don't know where we go from here. I really don't. But I will tell you that it's going to be a long road ahead. We're going to need to force the politicians to have a greater level of transparency. We need to take them down off of their pedestal, where they sit on their high throne and look down upon the common man. Where they think they're better than we are. where they create rules that apply to everyone else but not us because we are unruly and they're sophisticated. Talking about it's not that bad to stay at home for a little while eating $12 a pint ice cream paid for by taxpayer dollars while the people in her district starve. Yeah. Get out there, get on the internet, look it up. Look at Nancy Pelosi's house and then Google pictures of Nancy Pelosi's district. Tell me how great of a person she is then. But I'm going to be honest, if you support Nancy Pelosi, if you support Joe Biden, so on and so forth, I'm getting to the point, I'm coming to the understanding that you're already so far gone, there is no hope of you coming back until they turn on you themselves. And turn on you they will. And the very thing that, well, going back to Section 230, one of the very things about Section 230 is this is supposed to protect the smaller platforms from the larger platforms, but small platforms like Parler have been banned from Apple, Amazon, and Google Play. Because Apple, Amazon, and Google Play, along with Twitter and Facebook, they get to determine the definitions of the words that you use. And they have decided that the people who support Trump that jumped to Parler when the censorship all started are inciting violence on Parler. Now, is there some on there? Are there people on Parler calling for violence? I am absolutely 100% sure that they are. But they are holding Parler responsible for what their users do. While those very same platforms enjoy protections under Section 230, that they're not held responsible for the actions of what their users do. So here we go, another instance of rules for thee, but not for me. I don't know, people. I don't know how much farther we're going to let this go. But until we unite in this United States, if you're out there and you're a Democrat, go back and study your party's history. Become the Democrats from the JFK era, not the Democrats from today. Reach out to the quote-unquote opposition. Reach out to the other side. Let's come together for mutual benefit of everyone involved. Because until we as a people come together and figure something out, the talking heads in Congress are going to have 100% and complete and total control over us until then. And I want to leave the show tonight on something. Dana Loesch, she quoted it in her newsletter, and it was incredibly powerful. It was incredibly powerful and incredibly emotional for me. So the credit for this goes to Dana Loesch. I don't want to take credit for it as if it was some bright idea of my own. So, Dana, thanks for the idea. In the book Lord of the Rings, the character Aragorn, we find out he's the heir to the throne of Gondor, the realm of men, in The Return of the King. And right, if you've watched the movie or read the book, it's coming really close to the end. And it seems that all hope is lost. The good guys are completely surrounded by evil. And they're not sure if they're going to make it out the other side. And Aragorn turns and tells all of the soldiers and his friends there that were there with him to defend what was light and what was good, that a day may come when the courage of men falls, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day. Take that to heart, people. It's important. Because we are allowing those bonds to break. And with that, that's another episode of Centerpiece. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for listening tonight. And remember, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Benjamin Franklin. You can reach me at www.facebook.com/centerpiece. You can also email me at centerpieceshow@gmail.com, or you can shoot me a tweet at centerpieceshow on Twitter. Thanks again for listening.